Following Britain's victory in the 1865 Dar War, Britain and Bhutan signed the Treaty of Singchulu, under which Bhutan would receive an annual subsidy in exchange for ceding land to British India. Ujung Wangchuck, who had served as the de facto ruler of an increasingly unified Bhutan and had improved relations with the British toward the end of the 19th century, was named king in 1907. 3 years later, a treaty was signed whereby the British agreed not to interfere in Bhutanese internal affairs, and Bhutan allowed Britain to direct its foreign affairs. Bhutan negotiated a similar arrangement with independent India in 1949. The Indo-Bhutanese Treaty of Friendship returned to Bhutan a small piece of the territory annexed by the British, formalized the annual subsidies the country received, and defined India's responsibilities in defense and foreign relations. Under a succession of modernizing monarchs beginning in the 1950s, Bhutan joined the UN in 1971 and slowly continued its engagement beyond its borders.
In 2005, King Jigme Wangchuck unveiled the draft of Bhutan's first constitution, which introduced major democratic reforms and held a national referendum for its approval. The king abdicated the throne in 2006 in favor of his son, Jigme Namgyel Wangchuck. In 2007, India and Bhutan renegotiated their treaty, eliminating the clause that stated that Bhutan would be guided by India in conducting its foreign policy, although Thimphu continues to coordinate closely with New Delhi. In 2008, Bhutan held its first parliamentary election in accordance with the constitution. Bhutan experienced a peaceful turnover of power following a parliamentary election in 2013, which resulted in the defeat of the incumbent party. In 2018, the incumbent party again lost the parliamentary election. Of the more than 100,000 ethnic Nepali, predominantly Lhotshampa refugees who fled or were forced out of Bhutan in the 1990s, about 6,500 remain displaced in Nepal.
Geography.
Bhutan.
Location. Southern Asia, between China and India.
Geographic coordinates, 2730 N, 9030 E.
Map references. Asia.
Area total,
38,394 square kilometers.
Land,
38,394 square kilometers.
water,
0 square kilometers.
country comparison to the world.
137.
Area comparative, slightly larger than Maryland, about 1/2 the size of Indiana.
Land boundaries. Total.
1,136 kilometers.
Border countries. 2.
China 477 kilometers, India 659 kilometers.
Coastline. 0 kilometers. Landlocked.
Maritime claims, none. Landlocked.
Climate varies, tropical in southern plains, cool winters and hot summers in central valleys, severe winters and cool summers in Himalayas.
Terrain, mostly mountainous with some fertile valleys and savanna.
Elevation, mean elevation.
2,220 m.
Elevation extremes.
97 m lowest point.
Dranjimtu.
7,570 highest point.
Gangkapuensum.
Natural resources, timber, hydropower, gypsum, calcium carbonate.
Land use, agricultural land.
13.6%.
Arable land.
2.6%. /permanent crops.
0.3%, permanent pasture.
10.7%.
Forest.
85.5%.
Other.
0.9%.
Irrigated land, 320 square kilometers.
Natural hazards, violent storms from the Himalayas are the source of the country's Bhutanese name, which translates as Land of the Thunder Dragon. Frequent landslides during the rainy season.
Environment, current issues. Soil erosion, limited access to potable water, wildlife conservation, industrial pollution, waste disposal.
Environment, international agreements, Party to.
Biodiversity, climate change Kyoto Protocol, desertification, endangered species, hazardous wastes, ozone layer protection.
Signed, but not ratified.
Law of the sea.
Geography, note, landlocked. Strategic location between China and India. Controls several key Himalayan mountain passes.
People and society.
Bhutan.
Population 766,397.
Country comparison to the world.
165.
Nationality, noun.
Bhutanese, singular and plural.
Adjective.
Bhutanese.
Ethnic groups, Gallup, also known as POT, 50%, ethnic Nepali 35%, predominantly Lhotshampas, Indigenous or migrant tribes 15%.
Languages: Shachhupka 28%, Dzongkha, official 24%, Lhotshamka 22%, other 26%, includes foreign languages.
Religions: Lama-stic Buddhist 75.3%, Indian and Nepalese influenced Hinduism 22.1%, other 2.6%.
Age structure: 0-14 years,
25.35%, male 99,325/female 94,985,
15-24 years,
18.4%, male 71,790/female 69,205,
25-54 years,
43.73%, male 177,436/female 157,729,
55-64 years,
6.13%, male 25,160/female 21,817,
65 years and over,
6.39%, male 25,492/female 23,458.
population pyramid,
Population pyramid.
dependency ratios,
Dependency ratios are a measure of the age structure of a population. They relate the number of individuals that are likely to be economically dependent on the support of others. Dependency ratios contrast the ratio of youths, ages 0 to 14, and the elderly, ages 65 plus, to the number of those in the working age group, ages 15 to 64. Changes in the dependency ratio provide an indication of potential social support requirements resulting from changes in population age structures, as fertility level. More dependency ratios field listing.
total dependency ratio,
47.3,
youth dependency ratio,
40.4,
elderly dependency ratio,
6.9,
potential support ratio,
14.5,
median age, total,
28.1 years,
male,
28.6 years,
female,
27.6 years,
country comparison to the world,
140.
population growth rate,
The average annual percent change in the population, resulting from a surplus, or deficit, of births over deaths and the balance of migrants entering and leaving a country. The rate may be positive or negative. The growth rate is a factor in determining how great a burden would be imposed on a country by the changing needs of its people for infrastructure, e.g., schools, hospitals, housing, roads, resources, e.g., food, water, electricity, and jobs. Rapid population growth can be seen as more population growth rate field listing.
1.05%,
Country comparison to the world.
104,
Birth rate, 17 births out of 1,000 population.
country comparison to the world,
105.
death rate, 6.4 deaths out of 1,000 population,
Country comparison to the world.
144,
Net migration rate, 0 migrant, S, out of 1,000 population.
country comparison to the world,
75.
urbanization, urban population,
40.9% of total population.
rate of urbanization,
2.98% annual rate of change.
major urban areas, population, 203,000 Thimphu, capital,
Sex ratio at birth,
1.05 male apostrophe s/female,
0 to 14 years.
1.04 male apostrophe s/female,
15 to 24 years.
1.04 male apostrophe s/female,
25 to 54 years.
1.14 male apostrophe s/female,
55 to 64 years.
1.16 male apostrophe s/female,
65 years and over.
1.1 male apostrophe s/female,
Total population.
1.09 male apostrophe s/female.
Maternal mortality rate.
The maternal mortality rate, MMR, is the annual number of female deaths per 100,000 live births from any cause related to or aggravated by pregnancy or its management, excluding accidental or incidental causes. The MMR includes deaths during pregnancy, childbirth, on within 42 days of termination of pregnancy, irrespective of the duration and site of the pregnancy, for a specified year. Maternal mortality rate field listing.
148 deaths/100,000 live births.
Country comparison to the world.
61.
Infant mortality rate, total.
30.3 deaths out of 1,000 live births.
Male.
30.4 deaths out of 1,000 live births.
Female.
30.1 deaths out of 1,000 live births.
Country comparison to the world.
61.
Life expectancy at birth. Total population.
71.1 years.
Male.
70.1 years.
Female.
72.2 years.
Country comparison to the world.
157.
Total fertility rate. 1.87 children born. Woman.
Country comparison to the world.
138.
Contraceptive prevalence rate.
This field gives the percent of women of reproductive age, 1549, who are married or in union and are using, or whose sexual partner is using, a method of contraception according to the date of the most recent available data. The contraceptive prevalence rate is an indicator of health services, development, and women's empowerment. It is also useful in understanding past, present, and future fertility trends, especially in developing countries. Contraceptive prevalence rate field listing.
65.6%.
Health expenditures, 3.6% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
168.
Physicians density. 0.38 physicians out of 1,000 population.
Hospital bed density. 1.7 beds out of 1,000 population.
Drinking water source. Improved.
Urban.
100% of population.
Rural.
100% of population.
Total.
100% of population.
Unimproved.
Urban.
0% of population.
Rural.
0% of population.
Total.
0% of population.
Sanitation facility access. Improved.
Urban.
77.9% of population.
Rural.
33.1% of population.
Total.
50.4% of population.
Unimproved.
Urban.
22.1% of population.
Rural.
66.9% of population.
Total.
49.6% of population.
HIV/AIDS adult prevalence rate. NA.
HIV/AIDS. People living with HIV/AIDS. NA.
HIV/AIDS deaths. NA.
Major infectious diseases. Degree of risk.
High.
Food or waterborne diseases.
Bacterial and protozoal diarrhea, hepatitis A, and typhoid fever.
Vector-borne diseases.
Dengue fever.
Obesity. Adult prevalence rate 6.4%.
Country comparison to the world.
167.
Children under the age of 5 years underweight. 12.8%.
Country comparison to the world.
52.
Education expenditures 7.4% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
15.
Literacy. Definition.
Age 15 and over can read and write.
Total population.
64.9%.
Male.
73.1%.
Female.
55%.
School life expectancy. Primary to tertiary education.
School life expectancy, SLE, is the total number of years of schooling, primary to tertiary, that a child can expect to receive, assuming that the probability of his or her being enrolled in school at any particular future age is equal to the current enrollment ratio at that age. Caution must be maintained when utilizing this indicator in international comparisons. For example, a year or grade completed in one country is not necessarily the same in terms of educational content or quality. More school life expectancy, primary to tertiary education, field listing.
Total.
13 years.
Male.
12 years.
Female.
13 years.
Unemployment. Youth ages 15 to 24. Total.
10.7%.
Male.
8.2%.
Female.
12.7%.
Country comparison to the world.
119.
Government.
Bhutan.
Country name. Conventional long form.
Kingdom of Bhutan.
Conventional short form.
Bhutan.
Local long form.
Drukgyal Kap.
Local short form.
Drukgyal.
Etymology.
Named after the Bosya, the ethnic Tibetans who migrated from Tibet to Bhutan. Bod is the Tibetan name for their land. The Bhutanese name Drukgyal means land of the thunder dragon.
Government type. Constitutional monarchy.
Capital. Name.
Thimphu.
Geographic coordinates.
272810, 8938E.
Time difference.
UTC +6, 11 hours ahead of Washington, D.C., during standard time.
Administrative divisions. 20 districts. Dzongkhag, singular and plural, Bumthang, Chuka, Dagana, Gaza, Ha, Luantz, Mungar, Paro, Pimagachal, Punaka, Samdrup Jonka, Samts, Sarpang, Timpu, Trashigang, Trashiyangts, Drongza, Zairang, Wangdu Phodrang, Zemgang.
Independence.
For most countries, this entry gives the date that sovereignty was achieved and from which nation, empire, or trusteeship. For the other countries, the date given may not represent independence in the strict sense, but rather some significant nationhood event such as the traditional founding date or the date of unification, federation, confederation, establishment, fundamental change in the form of government, or state succession. For a number of countries, the establishment of statehood. More Independence Field listing.
The 17th of December 1907 became a unified kingdom under its first hereditary king. The 8th of August 1949, Treaty of Friendship with India maintains Bhutanese independence.
National holiday. National Day. Ujung Wangchuck became first hereditary king, 17 December, 1907.
Constitution. History.
Previous governing documents were various royal decrees. First constitution drafted November 2001 to March 2005, ratified the 18th of July 2008.
Amendments.
Proposed as a motion by simple majority vote in a joint session of Parliament. Passage requires at least a 3/4 majority vote in a joint session of the next Parliament and assent by the King.
Legal system. Civil law based on Buddhist religious law.
International Law Organization participation has not submitted an ICJ jurisdiction declaration, non-party state to the Act.
Citizenship. Citizenship by birth.
No.
Citizenship by descent only.
The father must be a citizen of Bhutan.
Dual citizenship recognized.
No.
Residency requirement for naturalization.
10 years.
Suffrage. 18 years of age. Universal.
Executive branch, Chief of State.
King Jigme Namgyel Wangchuck. Since the 14th of December 2006. Note: King Jigme Wangchuck abdicated the throne on the 14th of December 2006 to his son.
Head of Government.
Prime Minister Lotay Tshering. Since the 7th of November 2018.
Cabinet.
Council of Ministers. All Hengizhung Chog members nominated by the monarch in consultation with the Prime Minister and approved by the National Assembly. Members serve 5-year terms.
Elections. Appointments.
The monarchy is hereditary but can be removed by a 2/3 vote of Parliament. Leader of the majority party in Parliament is nominated as the Prime Minister, appointed by the monarch.
Legislative branch. Description.
Bicameral Parliament or Cheetchog consists of
Non-partisan National Council or Jayaleong 25 seats, 20 members directly elected in single-seat constituencies by simple majority vote and 5 members appointed by the King. Members serve 5-year terms.
National Assembly or Shogdu, 47 seats. Members directly elected in single-seat constituencies by proportional representation vote serve 5-year terms.
Elections. National Council election last held on the 20th of April 2018. Next to be held in 2023.
National Assembly. First round held on the 15th of September 2018 and second round held on the 18th of October 2018. Next to be held in 2023.
Election results. National Council. Seats by party. Independent 20. All candidates ran as independents. Composition. Men 23, women 2%. Of women 8%.
National Assembly. First round. Percent of vote by party. 31.9%. 30.9%. 27.4%. 9.8%. Second round. Percent of vote by party. NAR. Seats by party. 30. 17. Composition. Men 40, women 7%. Of women 14.9%. Note: total Parliament percent of women 12.5%.
Judicial branch. Highest courts.
Supreme Court consists of 5 justices including the Chief Justice. Note: the Supreme Court has sole jurisdiction in constitutional matters.
Judge selection and term of office.
Supreme Court Chief Justice appointed by the monarch upon the advice of the National Judicial Commission, a 4-member body to include the Legislative Committee of the National Assembly, the Attorney General, the Chief Justice of Bhutan and the Senior Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. Other judges, Drangpans, appointed by the monarch from among the High Court judges selected by the National Judicial Commission. Chief Justice serves a 5-year term or until reaching age 65 years, whichever is earlier. The 4 other judges serve 10-year terms or until age 65, whichever is earlier.
Subordinate courts.
High Court, First Appellate Court, District or Jongkag Courts, Sub-District or Dungkag Courts.
Political parties and leaders. Bhutan Kunayam Party or BKP.
Bhutan Peace and Prosperity Party, Drukfuan Samshogpa, or DPT, Pemagayam Cho, Drukcher Wangs Shogpa or DCT merged with DPT in March 2018.
Druknymarapchhogpa or DNT, Tandindorji.
People's Democratic Party or PDP, Suringtobgay.
United Party of Bhutan, Druknyamrapchhogpa, or DNT, Lotachering.
International Organization Participation AB, BIMSTEC, FAO, G77, IBD, ICAO, IDA, IFAD, IF, IMF, Interpol, IOC, IOM, Observer, IPU, ISO, Correspondent, ITSO, ITU, MIGA, NAM, OPC, SAOC, SASP, UN, UNCTAD, UNESCO, UNIDO, UNSO, UNUTO, UPU, UCO, WHO, WIPO, WMO, WTO, Observer.
Diplomatic representation in the U.S. Chief of Mission.
None. Note: the permanent mission to the UN for Bhutan has consular jurisdiction in the U.S. The permanent representative to the UN is Thomas Schring, since the 13th of September 2017. Address:
343 East 43rd Street, New York, New York 10017. Telephone, 12126822268. Fax, 12126610551.
Consulate, S. General,
New York.
None. Note: the permanent mission to the UN for Bhutan has consular jurisdiction in the U.S. The permanent representative to the UN is Thomas Schring, since the 13th of September 2017. Address:
343 East 43rd Street, New York, New York 10017. Telephone, 12126822268. Fax, 12126610551.
Diplomatic representation from the U.S. The U.S. and Bhutan have no formal diplomatic relations, although frequent informal contact is maintained via the U.S. Embassy in New Delhi, India, and Bhutan's permanent mission to the UN.
Flag description. Divided diagonally from the lower hoist side corner, the upper triangle is yellow and the lower triangle is orange. Centered along the dividing line is a large black and white dragon facing away from the hoist side. The dragon, called the Druk, Thunder Dragon, is the emblem of the nation. Its white color stands for purity and the jewels in its claws symbolize wealth. The background colors represent spiritual and secular powers within Bhutan.
The orange is associated with Buddhism, while the yellow denotes the ruling dynasty.
National symbols. Thunder Dragon known as Drukgyal Alpo. National colors.
Orange, yellow.
National anthem. Name.
Druksenden, the Thunder Dragon Kingdom.
Lyrics. Music.
Gyaldam Dashor of Inli Dorji/Aku Tongmi.
Note.
Adopted 1953.
Economy.
Bhutan.
Economy. Overview. Bhutan's small economy is based largely on hydropower, agriculture, and forestry, which provide the main livelihood for more than half the population. Because rugged mountains dominate the terrain and make the building of roads and other infrastructure difficult and expensive, industrial production is primarily of the cottage industry type. The economy is closely aligned with India's through strong trade and monetary links and is dependent on India for financial assistance and migrant laborers for development projects, especially for road construction. Bhutan signed a pact in December 2014 to expand duty-free trade with Bangladesh.
Multilateral development organizations administer most educational, social, and environment programs, and take into account the government's desire to protect the country's environment and cultural traditions. For example, the government is cautious in its expansion of the tourist sector, restricting visits to environmentally conscientious tourists. Complicated controls and uncertain policies in areas such as industrial licensing, trade, labor, and finance continue to hamper foreign investment.
Bhutan's largest export, hydropower to India, could spur sustainable growth in the coming years if Bhutan resolves chronic delays in construction. Bhutan's hydropower exports comprise 40% of total exports and 25% of the government's total revenue. Bhutan currently taps only 6.5% of its 24,000 megawatt hydropower potential and is behind schedule in building 12 new hydropower dams with a combined capacity of 10,000 megawatts by 2020 in accordance with a deal signed in 2008 with India. The high volume of imported materials to build hydropower plants has expanded Bhutan's trade and current account deficits. Bhutan also signed a Memorandum of Understanding with Bangladesh and India in July 2017 to jointly construct a new hydropower plant for exporting electricity to Bangladesh.
GDP, purchasing power parity, $7.205 billion.
$6.71 billion.
$6.252 billion.
Note.
Data in 2017 dollars.
Country comparison to the world.
167.
GDP. Official exchange rate. $2.405 billion.
GDP. Real growth rate. 7.4%.
7.3%.
6.2%.
Country comparison to the world.
14.
GDP. Per capita. PPP. $9,000.
$8,500.
$8,000.
Note.
Data are in 2017 dollars.
Country comparison to the world.
145.
Gross national saving.
Gross national saving is derived by deducting final consumption expenditure, household plus government, from gross national disposable income, and consists of personal saving, plus business saving, the sum of the capital consumption allowance and retained business profits, plus government saving, the excess of tax revenues over expenditures, but excludes foreign saving, the excess of imports of goods and services over exports. The figures are presented as a percent of GDP. A negative. More gross national saving field listing.
40.4% of GDP.
33.3% of GDP.
32% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
8.
GDP. Composition. By end use. Household consumption.
58%.
Government consumption.
16.8%.
Investment in fixed capital.
47.2%.
Investment in inventories.
0%.
Exports of goods and services.
26%.
Imports of goods and services.
Minus 48%.
GDP. Composition. By sector of origin. Agriculture.
16.2%.
Industry.
41.8%.
Services.
42%.
Agriculture, products, rice, corn, root crops, citrus, dairy products, eggs.
Industries, cement, wood products, processed fruits, alcoholic beverages, calcium carbide, tourism.
Industrial production growth rate, 6.3%.
Country comparison to the world.
36.
Labor force, 397,900.
Note.
Major shortage of skilled labor.
Country comparison to the world.
160.
Labor force. By occupation. Agriculture.
58%.
Industry.
20%.
Services.
22%.
Unemployment rate. 3.2%.
3.2%.
Country comparison to the world.
39.
Population below poverty line.
National estimates of the percentage of the population falling below the poverty line are based on surveys of subgroups, with the results weighted by the number of people in each group. Definitions of poverty vary considerably among nations. For example, rich nations generally employ more generous standards of poverty than poor nations. Population below poverty line field listing.
12%.
Household income or consumption by percentage share.
Data on household income or consumption come from household surveys, the results adjusted for household size. Nations use different standards and procedures in collecting and adjusting the data. Surveys based on income will normally show a more unequal distribution than surveys based on consumption. The quality of surveys is improving with time, yet caution is still necessary in making inter-country comparisons. Household income or consumption by percentage share field listing.
Lowest 10%.
2.8%.
Highest 10%.
30.6%.
Distribution of family income. Gini index.
This index measures the degree of inequality in the distribution of family income in a country. The index is calculated from the Lorentz curve, in which cumulative family income is plotted against the number of families arranged from the poorest to the richest. The index is the ratio of A. The area between a country's Lorentz curve and the 45-degree helping line to B. The entire triangular area under the 45-degree line. The more nearly equal a country's income distribution, the closer its more distribution of family income. Gini index field listing.
38.8.
38.1.
Country comparison to the world.
75.
Budget. Revenues.
655.3 million.
Expenditures.
737.4 million.
Note.
The government of India finances nearly 1/4 of Bhutan's budget expenditures.
Taxes and other revenues. 27.2% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
101.
Budget surplus, plus, or deficit, minus 3.4% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
142.
Public debt, 106.3% of GDP.
114.2% of GDP.
Country comparison to the world.
12.
Fiscal year, the 1st of July, the 30th of June.
Inflation rate, consumer prices, 5.8%.
7.6%.
Country comparison to the world.
183.
Central bank discount rate, 6%.
Note:
This is the policy rate of Bhutan's central bank.
Country comparison to the world.
68.
Commercial bank prime lending rate, 15%.
14.15%.
Country comparison to the world.
38.
Stock of narrow money, $993.5 million.
$769 million.
Country comparison to the world.
158.
Stock of broad money, $993.5 million.
$769 million.
Country comparison to the world.
163.
Stock of domestic credit, $1.535 billion.
$1.17 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
161.
Market value of publicly traded shares, $401.4 million.
$340.5 million.
$359.3 million.
Country comparison to the world.
114.
Current account balance, minus $547 million.
Minus $621 million.
Country comparison to the world.
120.
Exports, $554.6 million.
$495.3 million.
Country comparison to the world.
174.
Exports. Partners, India 95.3%.
Exports, commodities, electricity, to India, ferrosilicon, cement, cardamom, calcium carbide, steel rod/bars, dolomite, gypsum.
Imports, $1.025 billion.
$1.03 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
184.
Imports, commodities, fuel and lubricants, airplanes, machinery and parts, rice, motor vehicles.
Imports, partners, India 89.5%.
Reserves of foreign exchange and gold, $1.206 billion.
$1.127 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
129.
Debt, external, $2.671 billion.
$2.355 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
147.
Stock of direct foreign investment, at home, $160.4 million.
$168.4 million.
Country comparison to the world.
135.
Exchange rates, Gultrum, BTN, the US dollar,
64.97.
67.2.
67.2.
64.15.
61.03.
Energy.
Bhutan.
Electricity access. Population without electricity,
187,531.
Electrification. Total population.
76%.
Electrification. Urban areas.
100%.
Electrification. Rural areas.
53%.
Electricity. Production. 7.883 billion kWh.
Country comparison to the world.
110.
Electricity consumption 2.184 billion.
Country comparison to the world.
141.
Electricity. Exports. 5.763 billion kWh.
Country comparison to the world.
32.
Electricity imports 84 million.
Country comparison to the world.
101.
Electricity. Installed generating capacity, 1.632 million kW.
Country comparison to the world.
120.
Electricity from fossil fuels, 1% of total installed capacity.
Country comparison to the world.
211.
Electricity from nuclear fuels, 0% of total installed capacity.
Country comparison to the world.
51.
Electricity from hydroelectric plants, 99% of total installed capacity.
Country comparison to the world.
2.
Electricity from other renewable sources, 0% of total installed capacity.
Country comparison to the world.
177.
Crude oil production, 0 barrels/day.
Country comparison to the world.
111.
Crude oil, exports, 0 barrel, day.
Country comparison to the world.
95.
Crude oil, imports, 0 barrels/day.
Country comparison to the world.
98.
Crude oil, proved reserves, 0 barrel.
Country comparison to the world.
108.
Refined petroleum products, production, 0 barrels/day.
Country comparison to the world.
120.
Refined petroleum products, consumption, 3,000 barrel, day.
Country comparison to the world.
188.
Refined petroleum products, exports, 0 barrels/day.
Country comparison to the world.
132.
Refined petroleum products, imports, 3,120 barrel, day.
Country comparison to the world.
183.
Natural gas production, 0 qm.
Country comparison to the world.
106.
Natural gas, consumption, 0 cubic meters.
Country comparison to the world.
123.
Natural gas exports, 0 qm.
Country comparison to the world.
71.
Natural gas, imports, 0 cubic meters.
Country comparison to the world.
93.
Natural gas proved reserves, 0 qm.
Country comparison to the world.
112.
Carbon dioxide emissions from consumption of energy, 604,900 Mt.
Country comparison to the world.
181.
Communications.
Bhutan,
Telephones, fixed lines, total subscriptions.
21,364.
Subscriptions per 100 inhabitants.
3.
Country comparison to the world.
174.
Telephones, mobile cellular, total subscriptions.
730,623.
Subscriptions per 100 inhabitants.
96.
Country comparison to the world.
164.
Telephone system, general assessment.
Urban towns and district headquarters have telecommunications services. Telecom sector has been continuing on a steady development path. Fixed broadband penetration remains very low, due to the preeminence of the mobile platform. Next 5 years to 2023, low to moderate growth is expected from this small base.
Domestic
service inadequate, notably in rural areas. Mobile cellular service, begun in 2003, is now widely available. 3 to 100 fixed line, 96 to 100 mobile cellular.
International.
Country code 975. International telephone and telegraph service via landline and microwave relay through India. Satellite Earth station 1 Intelsat.
Broadcast media, state-owned TV station established in 1999. Cable TV service offers dozens of Indian and other international channels. First radio station, privately launched in 1973, is now state-owned. 5 private radio stations are currently broadcasting.
Internet country code .bt.
Internet users, total
313,347.
Percent of population
41.8%.
Country comparison to the world.
160.
Broadband fixed subscriptions, total
16,707.
Subscriptions per 100 inhabitants.
2.
Country comparison to the world.
157.
Transportation.
Bhutan.
National Air Transport System. Number of registered air carriers.
2.
Inventory of registered aircraft operated by air carriers.
6.
Annual passenger traffic on registered air carriers.
162,864.
Annual freight traffic on registered air carriers.
538,041 Mount km.
Civil aircraft registration country code prefix A5.
Airports. 2.
Country comparison to the world.
198.
Airports with paved runways, total
2.
1,524 to 2,437 m.
1.
914 to 1,523 m.
1.
Airports with unpaved runways, total
1.
914 to 1,523 m.
1.
Roadways, military and security.
Bhutan.
Military branches, Royal Bhutan Army, includes Royal Bodyguard and Royal Bhutan Police.
Military service age and obligation.
18 years of age for voluntary military service. No conscription. Militia training is compulsory for males aged 20 to 25, over a 3-year period.